guessing that it is like in the center. Like that? I don't... Hi there. I am coming to you from my living room, which is where I have been filming most of my sit-down chatty videos. And if you have not caught any of those videos, hi, I'm Hannah. I live in Los Angeles with my husband Alex and our dog Kaboom. And I thought I would take you along on an adventure all the way right here to our living room, where we are going to be camping for the night. I've never camped as an adult. Alex and I have never camped together. As far as we know, Kaboom has never camped. And the three of us are going to be setting up camp in our living room, and hopefully we will be able to sleep tonight. But regardless of whether or not we actually end up getting any sleep, we will be in our living room in a tent this evening. And I thought that that would be something that you might enjoy. I thought that I would share that experience with you. And ultimately, this is going to be a dress rehearsal, so to speak, a dry run to see if we enjoy camping. I think even if we don't enjoy it, I think we'll still end up going camping outside at some point. Like, I think we need to just do it at least once. But the whole point of tonight is to basically familiarize ourselves with all of the gear and to make sure that we haven't forgotten anything. I didn't want to have us showing up to a campsite and then not knowing how to pitch our tent and not already knowing where our gear was going to go. And I want to basically just make sure that we, at least for the most part, know what we are doing, so that we're not taking our tent out of the packaging for the very first time at the campsite when we inevitably eventually go camping. We are first doing this dry run, camping in our living room. I want to just be in the living room. I don't even want to be outside on our deck. I just honestly, I think that that is too much right out the gate. I do want to set ourselves up for success, and I don't want to just take it too far where it then just becomes unpleasant. Hence why we would be just like starting off in our living room, and then like when we eventually do go camping, I want it to be somewhere where we're close to home, and then we also have some amenities, so we're just not completely on our own, nowhere near civilization. And if things go south, like, it can get kind of gnarly. Like, I don't want that. At least for our first time. We'll see. Maybe we get really into camping. You know, we've enjoyed glamping so much. We have been glamping a total of 3 times now. If you didn't catch my very first travel vlog, which was to Ojai, Alex and I went to Ojai for a couple nights, and we stayed at Caravan Outpost, which has Airstreams and a tiny home, but we stayed in one of the Airstreams, and that was our 3rd time staying in a trailer. And so I feel like we're ready to officially camp. However, we're not quite ready to do that out in the world in nature. Certainly not. We have to first do that at home, and not outside, but inside in our living room. I just thought I would share this experience with you. I very impulsively decided that we should do a couple of home improvement projects today. So we are doing those while also then rounding up our camping gear. It's a little all over the place currently. currently, which is par for the course to just like overcomplicate things. When I first thought about camping and how we should try it out, I did consider the possibility of renting camping gear. Obviously, we're new to camping, so that kind of felt like it made a lot of sense to not commit to buying anything. But I think at the end of the day, we inevitably were going to have to buy some things. So I just over time started acquiring items and like squirreling them away, predominantly from the website Sierra. It's under the TJX umbrella, along with TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, HomeSense. And once a Maxxinista, always a Maxxinista. So we went the route of purchasing our own gear, but it's all discounted. So that was the route that we went. But obviously renting the gear is a great option, but all of a sudden I was purchasing a tent. So I have made a camping mood board, as you do. I just felt like because we were having to acquire quite a bit of gear, I wanted to make sure that everything was cohesive aesthetically, and then also be able to like see what we have and to take stock of our gear visually as opposed to just like looking at a list. But if I'm being completely honest, it was mainly about aesthetics for me. Whenever I'm amassing a collection of something, inevitably I curate. Like that is my natural setting. That is like me in my default mode. I guess to me it makes all the sense that, yeah, of course, if I had to buy camping gear, I would create a mood board because I am very particular about aesthetics. I feel like a lot of the camping gear, it's a lot of bright colors. There's just a lot of potential for clashing. And this is something that I know that I'm gonna have a problem with. So the mood board did help quite a bit. I will pop the mood board up on the screen if I haven't already. Our most recent purchase has been a camping bed for Kaboom. Although probably when we go camping for the first time, we are not gonna take Kaboom with us. I'm anticipating at least or preparing for a little bit of stress. And so I think that I would prefer for us to have at least like one night of official camping under our belt before we include Kaboom. But because we're doing this dress rehearsal, this dry run here in our living room, we are of course gonna include Kaboom. And so he already has his bed. He got a little too excited about it. He was like so enthused about his camping bed that he did create a couple holes in it that I proceeded to have to sew up. So hopefully I did an adequate enough job sewing it up that it'll hold up. But of course it was like immediate, like we took the tags off and he was so excited about it. And then next thing we knew, there were a couple holes in it. Our house is so small, so I don't think we're gonna start setting up camp just yet. I wanna know roughly what we're doing in terms of how we're setting everything up, kind of working through the blocking, if you will. This is just a way to ease some of my anxiety, but I think it also could be fun, which is why I turned the camera on and why I wanted to share this with you. So yeah, join us as we camp in our living room for the night. Okay, so we have the instructions inside of the bag that the tent comes in. So hopefully we will be able to figure this out. I've inflated one pillow and I have another one that I'm going to inflate. And then I've taken the sleeping bags and the blankets out. They've been packed up for quite a while, so I just want them to be able to expand a bit and fluff up. Kaboom, do you want to tell everyone what happened? That your mother put out your camping bed and your camping blanket and that you got a little too excited. You got a little too excited and you peed on your blanket that was on your bed, so you kind of peed on both. We're off to a great start. Are you so excited that we're gonna be camping? Are you so excited? Yeah. Oh, good boy. Stressed a little? You don't know what's going on? Oh, that's a good pillow. Okay. Is that for you? Yeah. Are you gonna help? Are you gonna help set up? Are you gonna help pitch the tent? I think this one is how it's supposed to go. I don't know. Ah! It just hit the ceiling fan. Okay, we're gonna just take a little break. We're gonna take a break. Match up red tabs on front corners, connect buckles and pull. I don't know what's happening right now. Okay. So I have these two. I don't even know if this will be possible, you know what I mean? Like in the living room.
Having this up? Or
Oh God. Kaboom, it stinks. Here, push it toward me, like the top. Yeah. And then you're gonna put the metal tips in the grommets.
both of them?
Yeah. I feel like I need to be wearing protective eyewear. We're doing it. It's looking like a tent, sort of. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now the brow pole. Place brow pole on top of main poles and insert tips into metal attachment loops. Is that correct? Place brow pole on top of main poles, so not underneath. I'm sure someone's yelling at me being like, you're doing it wrong. Okay, well, it's my first time. It's my first time and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, this is the rain fly. So I'm gonna put this on to show myself how to do it. So I practice doing it, but I don't think we're gonna leave it on overnight. Maybe we will, I don't know. Okay, so there's a front and a back, and they both have a door. Front door, back door, 2 exits. Safety first, 2 exits. Okay, feel good about that. Okay, yeah, so this brow is the door, right? I don't know. Or maybe you're supposed to roll it. I don't know. And then wait, I have to do the clips to that. Oh, okay. These clip on to the brow pole, which I feel like you could do before. Maybe I did it in the wrong order. Oh my gosh, I did it. Okay, so here we have the tent. set up. I have to figure out the moon roof situation. But here we are, first time in the tent. I mean, it got sort of dicey with the poles, but I had Alex help, and then it was a lot easier with two people. I'm gonna now work on furnishing the tent. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so I think I have, that is the moon roof open. Feels sort of messy, but it also is really nice. But I have to inflate this sleeping pad. It's a double, so I went for a double instead of getting two singles. Boom is trying to get inside. He's been banished. He needs to stay away until everything is finished. But yeah, so this is what we're looking at right now. This is what we're working with. So I have to finish inflating up, and the camera's out of focus. Great, wonderful. Okay, so I have to finish inflating this mat that the camera does not want to focus on. And it's very cozy. It's a 3-person tent, and I feel like we definitely could have gone with a 4-person tent, but a 4-person tent would absolutely not fit in our living room. So Kaboom is, can see he's outside wanting to come in and see what the progress is. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Oh, and I backing into things. Okay.
There.
Okay, so Alex helped me inflate the pad. I just didn't have the patience to blow it up. It has a built-in pump, and he thought it was gonna take forever, and it didn't. At first it seems like you're not going anywhere, but then it starts inflating very quickly. It has built-in pillows, but I also got inflatable pillows. So that's the base, that's where the pump is. So we're gonna be sleeping in this configuration with the pillows here. And then that's where the moon roof is. So now I'm going to put the rest of our bedding in. But this is what the pad looks like, and there's a little bit of space around the pad, but the pad pretty much like fills up the tent for the most part. Okay, so I added a fleece blanket on top of the pad, and then I'm gonna put our sleeping bags in and our pillows. Okay, so we have the sleeping bags and the pillows, and then I also got these blankets because I think we might just sleep on top of the sleeping bags and then have these blankets as our comforter and just have extra, because I just don't think that will be cold enough in the house where we're gonna need to be in the sleeping bags. But this is our setup, and then I also have our light up here. Let me see if I can turn it on. Oh, that's, look at that. Look at us go. Pull back for the full shot. So we have our little overhead lamp and our sleeping setup. And then I also got these camping lights, and they're string lights. I want to see if it would be possible to put them in our tent, so I'm going to do that now. So we have that lamp, which I think is also a power bank, and we have these lights And then we also have I have two of these headlamps, which we obviously won't need tonight, but these will come in handy if we're going to the bathroom when it's dark out, when we're actually camping. So we have our 3-person tent with our rain fly. We don't have the moonroof open at the moment, but that might change. And then these blankets, which I just think will be very handy to have. I didn't want to just have the sleeping bag, so they also, when we actually go camping, you can wear them like a poncho, and I'm always cold. So I feel like having a blanket that I can bring in and out of the tent is a must. So we have 2 of these. So I just basically doubled up in terms of the sleeping bags and the pillows and then these blankets. But then we just have 1 mattress pad and then 1 fleece blanket that goes on top of the mattress pad. And then Kaboom has his own mattress pad, so to speak, and his own blanket. I don't know where that is gonna go in the tent. I think we probably will have him just sleep on our mattress pad, I'm thinking, and then we'll have the blanket. I feel like this tent is actually perfect for 2 people, and it's enough space because we're not going to have a ton of stuff with us, I don't think, and the kitchen stuff will stay out of the tent. So I think it is enough space for us. I think Kaboom is just going to be in between us, probably at the foot of the pad. So that's what we're working with. I should probably turn that off. Okay, so I have the string lights, but there aren't really any overhead hooks, which would be very helpful in stringing the lights around the tent. So I just have them here. I'm wondering, I could probably put them on top of the tent underneath the rain fly somehow, but I don't know. I like them though. Okay, we're in the tent. I'm wearing one of the poncho blankets, and Kaboom is here with me. Are we camping? Are we camping? Yeah? I'm getting really hot. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We're in a tent. What's that? Are you in a tent? You good boy. Okay. So we have the moonroof open because we think it's probably just going to be too hot with the full rain fly on, but I just want to leave the rain fly on instead of taking it off completely. Yeah, I just threw those blankets in there, and this is how we're looking. It's, I think, just after 7. Got Kaboom over there. Feel pretty good about it. And we have our s'mores supplies. Good morning. It is now the next morning. We camped last night in our living room, and I have to say it was a success. I think that overall it went really well. Unfortunately, Alex fared the worst out of the 3 of us in terms of his sleep. But Kaboom, I would say, probably did the best of the three of us. I was concerned, like, as I was setting up the tent and putting everything into the tent, he definitely seemed a bit anxious about what was happening in the living room, which is completely understandable. We were kind of half expecting him to abandon the tent setup and put himself to bed in his bed in our bedroom, but he stayed with us the entire night in the tent. We had the door unzipped all night, so he could have left at any point, but he stayed with us in the tent and he didn't take up really any room. Like, he just sort of fit perfectly in between the two of us. And the thing is that the bed that I had purchased for him, the bed just doesn't fit in the tent. I'm glad that I got it because I think that it'll make for a great travel bed, and we didn't have a kind of roll up style of bed for him to have an official travel bed. I got a pretty good night's sleep. I had no issue falling asleep. Unfortunately, Alex had a really hard time falling asleep, and he like woke me up at one point, and I remember just being like very cranky at him that he was rustling so much, but I didn't really like wake up. Then I did wake up at like 2:30. However, I was able to go right back to sleep. So unlike our first night in Ojai, where I woke up in the middle of the night and then like just couldn't go back to sleep for at least like a couple hours, I woke up but then was able to go back to sleep without any real issue, which I was very grateful for. And then we woke up at 6. I woke up pretty bleary-eyed, feeling a little groggy. I wasn't as well rested as a typical night's sleep. I need at least 8 hours, and so we typically try to go to bed in the 9 o'clock hour. Ideally at 9 we try to head to bed, and then the idea is that hopefully I'll be able to fall asleep by 10 o'clock, which is typically no problem. I think if anything, it's a little trickier around this time of year where it's light out for so late into the evening, and so it stays light out for quite a while, so it just doesn't feel like it's that late. So I think we have been going to bed maybe a little bit later than we normally go to bed, but we typically try to go to bed in the 9 o'clock hours so that I fall asleep by 10, because then I pretty much wake up. That's Kaboom. He is currently laying on his camping bed right next to me. So he's dreaming right now. I try to be asleep by 10, and then I'm up by 6 typically. So I didn't get an incredible night's sleep, but it really wasn't that bad. Kaboom definitely gets the Star Camper badge. I did pretty okay. Alex unfortunately fared the worst of the three of us. He did request an additional pillow. I will say that I'm very happy with our gear. There really isn't anything that I feel is at this point not adequate. I think everything is great seemingly, especially our tent. We love our tent, and everything else, I think so far it's great. So I'm very pleased with what we have, but I did already this morning purchase additional sleeping pads. So I went with single sleeping pads to layer on top of the one double size sleeping pad that we have. And then I thought that I was being extra by getting us inflatable pillows, because the sleeping pad comes with built-in pillows. And so initially I didn't even get pillows because I was like, oh, the sleeping pad has built-in pillows, will be fine. And then at some point then was like, you know what, I'm gonna add individual inflatable pillows. And I'm really glad that I did that, but I thought that I was going overboard. But Alex felt like we could definitely use an additional pillow. I purchased compression design pillows. So I think that hopefully it'll be good not only to have a second pillow, but then also for it to be a different design, something a little different. So I've already ordered the compression design pillows for each of us, as well as an individual sleeping pad for each of us. I do like having like one main mattress that fills up majority of the tent floor. That's a good base to have. But I think us having that additional mattress, that each of us can have our own mattress so that we can shift around a bit and not disturb the other person as much. I think that this will just make things that much better, because I think that we're good with gear, at least like referring to sleeping gear. Like I think that we have everything that we're going to need and we made it through the night. I think, you know, we do need some sort of mattress, like some sort of sleeping pad. I think that it would be like highly unrealistic to just sleep in our sleeping bags directly on the floor of the tent. But I think just having like one fairly small sleeping pad is still pretty bare bones. Hopefully the additional sleeping pads won't take up a lot of space. That is really the main concern with all of our camping gear. A huge part of my thought process in what I ordered and the types of items I ordered was not just thinking about like maybe down the road we would want to end up doing backpacking camping, where we are putting all of our gear into backpacks and then hiking until we get to where we want to set up camp for the night. So for now, we're going to be doing car camping, which I know that car camping can refer to actually camping in your car, like using your car as a tent. Car camping also refers to how you get to your campsite. So just loading up your car and then basically driving to where you're going to set up camp. And that way you can have more gear because you're not having to worry about everything fitting into a backpack that you're then going to need to have on you, and you're not going to be able to have like a wagon and like lug all this gear with you. So part of it was like thinking about like big picture, if we wanted to try backpack camping, having gear that works for that. But also, we don't have an attic. We certainly don't have a basement. We don't have a massive storage closet of any kind. We don't have a garage. We don't have any real storage where we can store things. So what we have are these outdoor metal lockers in the back of our house. Like we have this sort of like walkway. When I do the home tour, I will show you, but all of our camping gear has to fit into the lockers. So we also have beach gear, luggage, paint, landscaping equipment, and like home improvement equipment and tools. All of that stuff has to fit into these lockers. So we have to be very mindful about not only the dimensions of things, but then how much stuff we have. We need to make sure that there's room for everything. And so we're very limited in our storage space. So that's also a big part of why I'm trying to not overdo it with camping stuff. I just want to be able to sleep through the night and feel comfortable enough that my body can relax and get a good night's sleep without needing to have too much stuff. It's finding the balance for us. And so I think that we're there. Neither one of us woke up feeling sore. We weren't in pain. We weren't sore. I'm hoping that that extra pad and pillow for each of us is going to be just what we need. But I have to say again, I'm so pleased with the gear that we got. Part of why we decided to do a dress rehearsal was to familiarize ourselves with the process. And I'm very happy that we had the foresight to do it this way, because I'm just really glad that we took the time to kind of run through everything here at home. Now I feel much more confident going into actual camping whenever that ends up happening. I pretty much just like started setting up because Alex was stuck in another project still outside, and so I started setting up the tent. I feel like setting up the tent outside is going to be way less hazardous. And then the only new thing that we'll have to do is stake the tent, like put the stakes in the ground. That's something obviously that we couldn't do in our living room. The tent, it's color coordinated, it's complementary colors, it's orange and blue. So you have orange clips that attach to the orange poles, and then you have the gray blue clips that attach to the brow pole. It's all very thoughtful in how it's designed. I mentioned having my mood board, which I will now have to update with our new gear. The main color that is not a neutral is orange, and I sort of found that that was unavoidable. With camping gear, there's just a lot of orange, and so we just ended up kind of leaning into that, and that sort of steely blue is the other color that's present throughout our camping gear. I tried to purchase our gear in neutral tones as much as I could. So there's black, gray, brown, cream, but then we have orange and blue. There is cohesion with the camping gear. Overall, a huge success. Like, I'm so proud of myself for just starting this process of deciding that we were gonna finally do a camping dress rehearsal and just taking my camera out and sitting down and talking to you without a plan. Like, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I'm so glad that I just decided to pick up the camera, even though it felt very messy and chaotic, because it very much was messy and chaotic and impromptu and rushed. And even though physically we were prepared, mentally I didn't really feel prepared going into this experience. But I feel incredible having survived a night camping in my living room. We did it. We made it through the night. We didn't move to our bedroom in the middle of the night. We stayed in the tent. The three of us, all three of us, stayed in the tent. Kaboom did the best of the three of us, but he will not be coming on our first official camping trip. But it's good to know he does great in the tent. When we inevitably do take him camping, he's gonna love it. I think at this point we're ready to just go camping. We don't need to spend a night out on our deck. We're just gonna go camping. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. I will take you along when that happens. It's still obviously early days of me vlogging. This is a new process for me. I'm finding my footing, but who knows? It could be like 2 years from now. Still on YouTube, vlogging, 2 years under my belt, and you could have seen my most recent video that I just published and then are now watching this video from the archives and you're like, you vlogged the same exact way. It's a chaotic mess. And then I established my brand early on and I've stayed true to it, if that's the case. I don't know, I'm like very in my head about it, as you can tell. As with everything, I overthink, but I think this is really good for me. This whole YouTube experience is really good, albeit incredibly uncomfortable, like deeply uncomfortable and rather unpleasant at times, especially having to look at myself in the editing process. But I think also as a perfectionist, I just have a really hard time when things are so messy. But it's so much better to do something messy and imperfectly than to not do it at all. And I've just spent a lot of my life not doing the thing because I know it's not going to be perfect. And I just spent a lot of my life holding myself back, not wanting to fail, not wanting to be rejected, not wanting to face any sort of criticism, and not wanting to do something knowing that it's not going to be perfect, because that's just realistically how it's going to go, because it's it's impossible. I mentioned, I think it was like the very first video that I filmed of myself talking about even if perfection is attainable, it's fleeting, it's not sustainable. But I think so often it's not even attainable in most situations. But when it is, it's so momentary that the idea of you trying to go into something, having it be perfect, it's just, I cannot overstate like how difficult it is to live life as a perfectionist and to have anxiety, because they're very similar. Like it keeps you from moving forward and from living your life, because especially the anxiety, it keeps you not wanting to do the thing that you inevitably have to do in order to get past the anxiety. It's brutal. And with perfectionism, and you combine that with having issues with executive function and not being able to start the thing, and a huge part of it is because of perfectionism, but it's also just the executive dysfunction. So I think that YouTube has proven already to be very helpful with just doing the thing and getting used to it, feeling uncomfortable, and having it be very messy and chaotic, and it sort of feels like I'm out of control. And I think that's very good for me, because I think that control is sort of an illusion in a way. Like, yes, there's certain things that are in our control or should be in our control, but I think life, it's unpredictable. And so you know that there are going to be ebbs and flows, but you don't know when it's going to ebb and when it's going to flow. You just know that it's going to happen, right? And so I think just like getting used to being uncomfortable is very important. And at least for me, like, it is much needed. And this is like just like a very truly a life-changing hobby, YouTube. Like, this whole experience, I feel so much like myself, and yet I don't recognize myself at the same time, because I've lived my life for so long holding myself back, like not getting in the game, not just doing the thing. Or I do it, but it just takes so long, and then I just am frustrated because I didn't do the thing earlier. And so it's either that I don't do it or that I take too long to do it. And so at the end of the day, then it's like, when I do it, at least I did it. But I know that it took a really long time for me to get to that point, and it didn't necessarily, sometimes it just is a long journey, and it is what it is. Other times it's a long journey because you make it a long journey, and it doesn't need to be. It could have taken you a lot faster, and life is short, or time on this earth is fleeting. It's just better to not be in a state of wanting to do the thing but yet not. And it's the same thing with anxiety, where you're spending so much time worrying about the thing, and it leads you to avoid the thing, and it's leading you to miss out on a lot, depending on what you're anxious about and what you're avoiding. And you know, it's all sort of connected for me. And yeah, so I think that this process of just like, I didn't have a plan for this vlog. I just knew that we were gonna set up a tent in our living room and sleep there for the night. Even though I didn't feel prepared, I just was like, okay, we're gonna do it. Once again, I don't know how to end these chatty videos, but thank you so much for coming along with me on this adventure. I hope you enjoyed watching our camping dress rehearsal. Next time you see the tent behind me will be when we officially go camping for the very first time, and we are outside and not in my living room. Until next time.